Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Shuey, the founder of Happily. We connect you with the largest network of independent event specialists and virtual event teams on demand. And every week on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. PST, I talk with a friend and an expert to help us learn how to elevate our virtual event experiences. And today we are talking with Koichi Sanchez. He actually is a music producer and composer and the wizard behind that beautiful opening sound that you just heard. Koichi.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing, Sarah?
I'm great. It's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you too. Very, very vibrant. I see. As on brand.
Yes, definitely. It's actually like a trick of mine. Like whenever things are like getting like super like depressing and sad, I always like put on the red lipstick and the color, and it just like helps like make everything so much more fun.
Very nice. Very nice. I see that your glasses are even matching part of your outfit here. So that's more effort that I have put in today. I apologize, but
I'm not going to make you stand up and show us your PJs.
Okay, I thought we were just gonna keep that between ourselves.
Or your whiskey. What are you drinking there?
Coffee in a whiskey glass. Yes, I have not fallen off the wagon, so it's we're okay. I'm
drinking coffee too, and mine looks like this. Like I don't know if you can see it.
It looks much more presentable. So
it's like good. In a mug, that's how people drink it.
One of us is a professional here, so that's good.
So, do you want to tell us more about yourself?
Sure. I am a composer and producer based here in Los Angeles. I've worked with everything from music production libraries like Universal Production Music and APM to brands like Yamaha, Native Instruments, who operate more in my space of music production. Worked on some video games, labels for more of like actual song production. So a little bit of everything, but much of it actually does have to do with music and media. So this is why I'm here. And Sarah actually was my very first client, kind of doing audio mnemonics, which we'll get into a little bit. But that fun little blip at the top there with Sarah doing her. I can't really do the pose, but it was a vibe. So,
well, go ahead and tell us what is audio mnemonics.
Sure. Like, I think most people these days are like the term might not be familiar because it's kind of like an audio nerd term, but the idea of it and the usage of it is pretty prevalent, especially nowadays. So I'm like tail end millennial. So for me, one of the ones I remember the most is the Intel logo that used to be, when Intel was doing a lot of heavy advertising, you'd hear the bum bum bum, which I recently found out.
Wait, I got it.
What's up? Oh, yeah.
That one, right?
There you go. That one, which I read an interesting story about that when I was kind of looking into it. And the composer for that landed on that after he kept trying to sing Intel Inside in different ways, because that's what it actually says on the thing. So it's supposed to be Intel Inside, like, which I think there's even a version that has that. I've heard that at some point, but that's on some super sound nerd stuff. But the one mnemonic we are all probably hearing at some point during our days in quarantine here is this one. I won't even say
what it is. It like gives me chills, actually.
America season 3. But yeah, no. So that is the Netflix audio mnemonic for those of you who maybe didn't hear it quite so clearly. But it's there every time you hit play on a program or you get a YouTube advertisement about a new season of your favorite show coming out, and it's effective. It doesn't even really have a lot of melodic content, but it's there. And we all know it. So,
what are you watching on Netflix lately?
What haven't I watched on Netflix? It will tell me that there is no Netflix left. Like, you've reached the end of Netflix. But I powered through it, which sucks, but I powered through Altered Carbon season 2.
That's heard that's really good.
Sci-fi, like show of choice, I guess, more recently. But yeah, there's a lot of great content out there. So I'll be checking a lot of it out. Happy to take recommendations if anybody has some. So.
Yeah, and I think like actually there is so much great content and people are watching Netflix all the time, and it's kind of hard to compete with the quality of the production on those in a virtual event environment.
Sure.
And I'm just like, what, like, and I think that with events going virtual, actually, like, I think a lot of times I've been seeing producers try to take exactly the same thing that they do in real life and then copy it to, like, for the web, but really it's more of like it becomes more of a media presentation than it does like this interactive networking thing. And there are event technologies that sort of help make that more vibrant and more connected, but really we're reduced down from having five senses of like taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing to just two with sight and hearing. And I've seen on many shows, like in the past and even still now today, folks will get ready for their big live streams or their big, virtual productions. And then they're like, oh yeah, what about audio? Or where's the playlist? Did anyone make that?
Sure. No, I totally understand. I mean, even in like the professional space, when you're working with an ad agency or something like that, audio is generally like the last call that you get, so it's always just like, okay, we figured it. Because if you're putting together these events, whether it's Happily or someone putting together like an expo or a festival, you guys are so often used to dealing with the visual components, right? So maybe you've worked with your art directors or your graphics people, you've created a style guide. I mean, a lot of hours have been spent kind of fine tuning.
Some of those style guides are, they're fire. So good.
But then someone all of a sudden is like, okay, like, well, now we're shifting our space and we're going to try to start integrating more audio. And they're like, people just aren't used to having that conversation, right? You're like, well, okay, where do we even start? Like, can we like is it going to be sound? Is it a sound effect? Do we even have a sound for our brand? And that's generally a lot of times where I'll step in and I'll be like, okay, if you don't have one, you should, because now every time someone goes live or, as you're trying to reach out to your communities using social media, I mean, all of these places are going to be an opportunity where if you do video-based content, that you can, introduce yourselves with an audio brand opportunity every single time. So, think about how many posts you're going to be doing following up, how many, live stream sessions you're going to have, how many workshop sessions are going to be there. I mean, these are literally every time someone gets to become more familiar with your brand. And like you said, because so many senses are now kind of taken away and that experience is becoming more limited, well, the sound part of it is still very much fully active. Even though it's a little bit more controlled, but yeah, there's an opportunity there, bottom line, for your brand.
Where are places other than like the audio mnemonic, like the branded like audio logo? What are other ways to say like audio mnemonics?
Like other ways to say it, or like
jingle, right? Like so, like other like terms for it.
I think when a lot of people think jingle, so mnemonic is almost like the short form of the jingle, because a lot of times when we think jingle, I think you think something a little bit longer, or like the kind of almost like 50s, 60s, like sing-songy things. Yeah, whatever it is, wherever you grew up, I'm sure as a kid there was something that was more jingle based, or even like the McDonald's like "I'm loving it" campaigns that they've done over the years, but mnemonics tend to be much shorter. You're trying to deal with just a 3 to like 5 second window to communicate something. Sometimes it could be more musically driven, like the Happily campaign. If you listen to that, it's as your brand commands. It's positive sounding. It's a little bit upbeat. It transitions a little bit, and there was definitely a message that we were hoping to communicate with that. And sometimes they're much more simple and to the point, like the Netflix one, which is just this thing that's so simple that you hear it a few times and you already know what it is.
I remember when we were going through the process of figuring out that like Happily audio mnemonic, like you asked me to, even just say like 3 adjectives or 3 things that I wanted people to really think about or realize. And obviously happiness was one of them, but I wanted also something that was like tech focused so that people would think of it as like a little bit, techie and futuristic like, but and also to have like a lot of like powerful sort of forward moving energy since we, push lots of things forward. And I think I'm going to play it again. I think that what you came up with, I feel like you even knocked it out on the first try, if I could remember, but yeah, that sounds like you, right? So I think what you came up with is good. Here, let me play it again.
Happily.
Happily.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it was, the three adjective process was something that I, obviously when we had talked about this, for you at that time too, it was like a first time thing, right? It was something that we were kind of discussing, and you had some questions, and so I like to do that in the sense that it's a way to simplify it. It's an exercise that a lot of times I think you would have probably gone through at some point anyways, whether it's your style guides or this and that. You're always trying to communicate something, and it's no different with sound, but it's just it's a little bit less tangible because you're not, you don't have cards to look at or this and that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, what does all this mean? And that's where oftentimes hiring like a composer or a professional can be helpful, because it's our job to then take what your creative ideas and your and kind of like these brand oriented terms that you might have, and be like, okay, let me translate that to what I think that means for you musically after having a little bit of conversation. Because just because someone says like, hey, I want it to be bright, like mm-hmm. that's a very broad term, like yeah. it could be like too happy, it could be too cute, it could be, like, so even having a simple starting place like that is great to just to start narrowing it down with broad strokes. And then by having essentially 3 points to kind of use, it gives me enough of a window, or I guess a triangle in this case, but it gives me a good target to kind of go after and then modify. I lucked out in the case with you in that we knocked it out on the first one, but each of those elements I think also were put to use there. So like you kind of had the hip hoppy drum beat thing that was kind of the forward movement. You had a lot of things that were rising from a melodic context, and there was a little bit of a synthetic sound, so that was kind of like that future vibe. And then in general, the whole thing was just in a not overly happy, like cute tone, but it was kind of like this, hey, like we're professional, but we're called happily, Yeah,
like, I just like imagine myself like running, like here I
go. My flight at O'Hare. Yeah, no. So that was a lot of fun, and it's I'm glad to see that you're starting to integrate it into your presentations as well.
Yeah, where can and should like we use an audio mnemonic where it's like cool and starts to like not get annoying?
Right. I think the best opportunity from a brand perspective is just as far as like connecting with your I mean, whether it's a customer base or your community, like it's always going to be that the beginning is much more like your audience is engaged still at the top, right? Like now at the end, whether it's a presentation or video, sometimes when someone says, okay, bye, like, thank you so much for coming in today, hope you guys have a good one, we'll see you next week. Before that sentence even finishes, someone might have clicked out. So if your situation is only at the end, I think you are losing a valuable opportunity to communicate your branding at the top. But both of those are great. Whether you do it at the top, whether you do it at the end, like one of those for sure is necessary if you've taken the time to make the mnemonic. So.
Can we switch gears and talk about like one of my biggest pet peeves in real live events, and now I really notice it so much in virtual events, and that's dead air. Like it drives me crazy.
Sure. So I mean, nobody even in just audio land, right? Radio or anything like that, dead air is like that. That's how people used to lose their job. It's like, what did you do? Why is there just dead air going on? And I think in an event space, especially now that it's virtual, because it's a little bit more controllable there with like a few kind of, there's definitely some things to keep in mind before you go live, right? So there's the emergency dead air where just something goes wrong. In that case, Um, I mean, the copyright side of things, I know we were talking about it. It could be a little bit gray. So like, I don't know if you necessarily want to rely on something like a Spotify playlist, but if you work with someone where it's and actually with live streams, I actually believe that that's okay. I don't know how it works when it's archived and posted up, but you should be okay. Don't quote me on
That's
it.
not true. No, that's not true because I've definitely, because we've been live streaming our shows for a really long time.
Yeah.
And YouTube default is like overloaded right now with all these people doing live. So they're
Sure.
relying more on bots than humans, and they hear it like within like seconds and will pull. So,
Okay. Well, then I retract my statement there. My bad. But an opportunity there then is so whether there's a few different assets that you can use. Again, if you're going the custom route, to me that would be an opportunity to be like, okay, so we've got a mnemonic for you. Now let's make essentially what will be kind of like hold music for your event, right? So if you are doing a set of presentations or panels or just something needs to happen where there's going to be a transition and it's coming, essentially have something that's ready to be looped. Maybe it's depending on what your streaming setup is. I know just looping a sound might not be the easiest. So maybe talk to someone like me and be like, hey, like, can we get a 5 minute long MP3 that can just play in the background, and it's not too invasive, but it allows that transition moment to happen and not have that dead air. So you have that option. B, there are a few different production music libraries, for example, like APM or Universal Production Music. I've written for both of those, and they, that's like an iTunes for business or for anybody in media. So you can type in, I'm looking for, like a lo-fi beat, or I'm looking for just acoustic jazz piano, maybe something to play in the background so that you're doing okay. I will, it's up to a brand whether they want their background music to be full tilt, like locked into what it is that their brand message is, or if you want something that's very like calming and just kind of keeps the space going. I would say, you can go either way, and I don't think there's anything wrong with going either way there. But there's also like the music bed, which some people might already be familiar with. If you're doing a lot of YouTube content, as it is, they're very popular with content creators on that platform. So any of those options could work to keep you, just from having dead air, because like you said, I mean, I think nobody wants that. But I do think if you know that there are going to be transitions, you definitely owe it to yourself to be prepared with some audio assets, so that, hey, like, we don't just have this, one, even if it's 1 minute, it's like this awkward minute, and definitely be avoided. And I think you can front load that a little bit so that you've got something that you can use.
So if we were making a checklist, right? So we've got like our opening and closing audio mnemonic. We have some like soft, maybe looping, music in the background. What else should we have like on our like audio like checklist?
Sure. I think one thing that sound can be useful for as well is just having like a cue point, or kind of like to have a gentle way to remind whoever is on the live stream that if you hear it, you're like, oh, hey, that's the sound for, like, I've got 5 minutes left before, I should really be transitioning into the next thing. I mean, whether it's 5 or 3 or 1 or whatever it is, it'll give you something to hear that's not going to be invasive. It's not going to freak anybody out, but it'll be a little bit less awkward than trying to be like, okay, so moving on, like, like it gives you a little bit of a heads up.
Is it like a gong? Is it the Sonic Q demo thing that you sent to me?
I sent you some, yeah, and it could be anything. Those were very much kind of in a softer idea, but I would think for that you'd want to go with something that's a little bit just, again, non-invasive, so that even if someone's listening in, think about it like if you ever went to go see like a Broadway show or like a theater-based show, they still have the super old school like 4 chime, like doom, boom, 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 like, and that's like you're like, oh shoot, it's like I should be getting ready to go back in, right? Same kind of an idea. It's non-invasive. You're not going to be like, what the heck is going on? Like, you're like, okay, cool. Because a lot of times, like, I've produced podcasts before with teams where, someone is like on a microphone like this or in someone's ear, and you're going to be like, hey, 3 minutes, like, wrap this up. And and that the other person on the other end won't hear it, but this like the moderator is going to be like, okay, cool. That's a little bit harder to do in some of these current situations, especially if you just don't have the specified gear for that and whatnot. So I think something like a gentle, non-invasive sound can be fun. Even, it's just like it's just a way to keep things that much more entertaining, since a lot of times when you are just talking, it is just two people talking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna play the cue. Like I'll probably play it a couple times so that it can hear it. Hold on, let me do my volume up a little bit more. Ooh. Oh, you gave me several.
Well, so yeah, these are all the same sonic palette, but just treated in different ways. And that's the other thing too, where it's like I'm hoping people understand that, like, even the tiniest little bits of changes, you're basically listening to the same collection of notes, different timings, different orders and things like that. And all those things, however, they might seem really minute, but even in that tiny piece of time, they all kind of communicate different feelings. And I know feelings are very, very subjective, but it's pretty rare that like anybody's going to hear all that and be like, oh, they all sound the same. It's like, oh, okay, wait, that one, I like that one. You're going to like one of them better. You might not be able to maybe verbalize why, but like ideally, something will stick out and you're like, that one, let's go with that. That'll be our like transition sound. And think about it too. Like there's a lot of apps that like when you tell something, convert this file or, upload this thing. And when it finishes, it's like this pleasant, like, da-doom, like, and you're like, oh yeah, it's that kind of a cue where it's like, it's there. You're not going to be like, what just happened? It's like, it's a thing that you hear, communicates like an immediate message that you've set up for it. And like I said, I think in the presentation world, a lot of times it will be like, okay, hey, let's try to move on to the, to the next thing. And it gives everyone a chance to, especially the moderator, a chance to kind of like, okay, like I can take that breath and figure out like how I'm going to transition out of this, as opposed to kind of feeling like you're caught too off guard or something like that. So, and I think even a mnemonic at the beginning is like that too. Like you were saying, a lot of presenters, right? If you're going to go live, I mean, you click the live button and sometimes you don't even have that second to take a breath. You're like, okay, crap. Like I got to be presentable, like, and at least if you have a thing that gives you 3 to 5 seconds, you're like, okay, here we go. Hey, like, welcome to, like, and it gives you a nice little moment to collect and then move forward. So.
Really interesting. So for like, there's a lot of folks who are like jumping on, to work, that are doing work from home for the first time, that are doing, remote and virtual events for the first time. And I feel like they don't, like myself included, sometimes like I just don't have the right gear or equipment. Sure. Like what would you recommend for like a good starter kit to just for anyone trying to elevate their sound, for folks listening in?
Got you. So I think, I would look at a few different places on the, if like it'll depend a little bit on your platform sometimes too, but for YouTube, let's say if your main platform of engagement, you've decided, oh, we're going to do a YouTube stream of some sort, you can start with their free library. I know a few of the different musicians and producers that have been contracted out to make things for that library, and there's not a crazy amount of content because it is their free section, but it's a great starting place just to see what might be available. For those people who might be, downloading something from like a music bed or a full audio library, a lot of times you can look for something that's called like the stinger, which will be like usually just the end part, a 3 to 5 second clip that like can be used as a essentially as a mnemonic. If let's say you actually have physically, like you're with a few people that you work with or you create your content with, and you're thinking, oh, this might be a great opportunity for us to start doing maybe like a podcast or something along those lines. A very common piece of gear in that world is something called the Zoom H6 or the H5 if you're on a little bit more of a budget. I think, Sarah, you can probably put some links to those, but you're looking anywhere from about like $300 something to a little bit less, and those are a little bit more technical in that they're they're like location microphones. You can use them you can plug 2 mics in, and just like I have one right here, you can have someone sitting across from you and record a really nice high quality podcast that's a little, not even a little bit, I would say like probably better than just your iPhone mic or something like that. It would just up your quality a little bit. And they're all going to be good investments. These are the kinds of things that they're not like, oh, hey, I'm only using this because of the current situation you're in. I feel like a product like that, like even once we are able to go back out and start, doing a lot more face-to-face, well, hey, you can take that on location and record people. You can record your actual panel presentation, just the sound captured from the audience perspective. You can get, anywhere from 2 to 4 people in a room together now and all do this without a computer. That's the other really nice thing. These are very like kind of mobile products in their own right. So I think those are all, different ways to kind of start stepping into that space.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I will grab like all those links and we'll add it into the archive section for happily.io/learning, so that folks can grab it, as well as, of course, like a link to you. And so before we wrap up, I wanted to play a game with you because I like to end each one of like our things with a game. And I thought that since you are an audio mnemonics expert, that
now you're throwing around big words.
I hate that word expert though, right? It's the worst.
Backed into the corner. What's happening?
Right. Like, what was I when I was a pert? Anyways, bad mom joke. So I thought we would play a game where I played a couple of sound logos for you, and see if you can guess them. Okay. I'll send you a whiskey if you can get all of them right, just to like up the ante.
Okay. All right.
You down?
Let's go.
Okay. Let's try this one. Hold on.
As the official spokes owl.
Did you hear that?
Wait, it was literally like, it just sounded like a snap or a clap or something, but and that was literally it.
That was it.
Play it one more time.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. I think I have a freaking ad here. Hold on.
Oh, I don't know. That's geez.
It's a game console.
It's a game console. Switch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Good job.
Literally just process of elimination. I'm like, I know the Xbox one. I know the PlayStation one says PlayStation like at the end of it. So I'm just like, all right. All right.
You're 1 for 1. And like that was
newer. So I feel like that's tougher because that's like in the last few years, So
I know, but do you play Switch?
I will hop in on the occasional like Smash Brothers tournament, but I don't own the console myself. I know a lot of people seem to be spending their time playing that Animal Crossing game more recently. So
okay, let's try this one. Let's see if we get this one.
That definitely has to be like a show.
No, it's an automobile manufacturer.
Oh, geez. I don't know. Something.
That was
Italian,
hard too.
I feel like. Is it like an Italian auto manufacturer?
No, it's Mercedes.
Oh, geez. Nah. Okay.
Did you know that Mercedes even had a sound logo?
I'm curious to wait. Does it say when that was from?
Well,
is it a recent product like video?
No, it wasn't a recent one. It was uploaded in 2007, so that one's a little bit later.
Interesting.
Maybe it's not like a really good one then.
Yeah.
Let's try another, yeah?
Okay. Oh, geez. I know that.
You know this one.
So I'm going to give them credit because I know that it is a mnemonic and like it's recognizable, but I am. Is this like a telecom thing?
It's a actually Actually, it's like a kind of, but also products.
Is this a cell phone company?
More like something, maybe an appliance.
GE?
Yes, it's LG. Good job.
Oh, no. I messed up. I said GE.
Oh, GE. Okay, never mind.
It's LG. I was like, yeah, okay. It sounded more like it would be one of the more Asian companies, I guess, just in terms of like mnemonic. But okay.
Sorry, I put you on blast. Those are really hard.
It's okay. That's, I mean, like I said, that one super recognizable, but I was just like, I can't remember it. So, all right, cheers.
Okay, well, I'll send you some coffee anyways. So that's like
thank you. I'll be looking
real coffee.
I know. I look forward to the day when I can go out and support my local coffee shop again. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
No worries. Thank you.
It was so much fun, and thank you also for the sound, for Happy's sound logo. We love it, and I hope for everyone that this was really helpful for you, and you make sure to go and find Koichi Sanchez on LinkedIn and connect with him. Ask him all of your burning DM audio questions.
Absolutely, hit me up.
And great. And so next week we're going to be I'm going to be talking with Amy Jo Kim. She is one of the advisors at Happily, and she's amazing. She coined the term game thinking, and Amy Jo and I actually worked on a game thinking conference with her a couple of years ago. And something that she did was she actually included a really robust online workshop program that was happening globally around the world at the same time as the summit. And from that experience, she actually spun off and has just been really focused on that online workshop format and doing really well with it. So she's going to share some of her expert tips and suggestions and stories from that experience. So we're looking forward to that next Wednesday at 2 p.m. here on my LinkedIn and also on Happy's YouTube channel. And you can also find us at happily.io/learning. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you'll come back and have a really wonderful day. Bye now.